The story begins in the Garden of Eden. Two supernatural beings stand watching, Crowley, a demon, and Aziraphale, an angel. Adam and Eve walk out into the harsh, dry world after the apple incident gets them thrown out. The two beings talk about God's plan and laugh about right and wrong. Crowley boasts about his time on Earth, then gets orders from hell. Start Armageddon. Aziraphale is at a sushi restaurant nearby, completely clueless. At a hospital, a woman is in labor. A group of sisters get their instructions, swap the babies, and hand the right one to the chosen couple. Crowley shows up and makes it clear the switch must go perfectly. It does. Crowley calls Aziraphale and they meet at St. James Park. He tells him Armageddon is 11 years away. Aziraphale refuses at first, then changes his mind. Together, they decide to raise the child as godfathers and make him as ordinary as possible. Their quiet plan to stop the end of the world. 5 years pass. Crowley plays nanny. Aziraphale plays gardener. The boy seems perfectly normal. Both report back to their sides. Time jumps again. The boy, Warlock, is turning 11. Aziraphale floats the idea of killing him. Crowley considers it. Then the truth hits. Wrong child. The switch fooled everyone. The real boy, Adam, is in a forest in rural England with his friends. A hellhound arrives on his birthday, sent by hell. Adam simply calls it Dog. The beast shrinks into a small, ordinary dog and the two become instant friends. Crowley hears the news. The hound has found its master. The end of the world has begun. Crowley checks in with Hell's head office about the Antichrist. He tells them everything is fine, while quietly hiding the fact that he spent 11 years watching the wrong child. Aziraphale does the same with his side, lying to his superiors. 2 days remain until Armageddon. The clock is running. The scene shifts back in time to a witch hunt. A woman named Agnes Nutter is the target. Her prophecies, however, outlive her, surviving centuries and eventually landing inside a home in Malibu, California. The words point toward finding and destroying a heart of darkness. Anathema believes this connects to the Antichrist. She packs up and heads to Britain. Back in the present, Crowley yells at his houseplants, a stand-up moment, then links up with Aziraphale to track down the real Antichrist. Adam is in the woods nearby, lost in a game of British Inquisition with his friends. Anathema passes them on her way through, exchanging a brief greeting, having no idea who Adam really is. Crowley and Aziraphale reach the area shortly after. At the location, Crowley swaps paintballs for live rounds, then tracks down one of the nuns involved in the baby swap 11 years ago. She tells him a demon named Haster destroyed every record from that night. With no leads left, they drive off. On the road, they hit Anathema. Aziraphale quickly offers her a ride. They drop her at the village, but she leaves her book of prophecies behind in the car. Aziraphale takes it straight into his bookshop. Reading through it, he realizes the prophecy inside is meant for him. The numbers add up to 666. He picks up the phone and dials. Someone answers, and it is exactly the right house. In a flashback, we see Crowley and Aziraphale side by side across the ages, the Great Flood, King Arthur's era, Shakespeare's time, and even the Second World War. Their bond runs deep and long. Back in the present, Aziraphale sits with his thoughts, weighing what to do next. Anathema is outside, frustrated and kicking broken pots, angry at herself for leaving the book behind. Then Adam passes by and casually invites her in. He also calls Dog inside, and as the pet crosses the threshold, the horseshoe above the door, a shield against evil, burns a deep, furious red before going dim. Inside, Anathema and Adam talk. She tells him she studies the occult, but there is something she cannot explain. She sees no aura around him at all. Elsewhere, Aziraphale contacts a pair of witch hunters and asks them to look into a town called Tadfield, where he believes the Antichrist is hiding. He makes a decision: side with good, prepare for the coming war, and cut Crowley loose. Despite everything they have shared across centuries, he ends it. Crowley walks away, reluctant and stung. Aziraphale watches him go, quietly trying to convince himself it was the right call. That night, Adam lies in bed. Voices drift in, nudging him, urging him to let his thoughts spill into the real world. Then the scene cuts to a nuclear power plant. Inside, where a reactor should be, there is a sherbet lemon. The apocalypse has quietly begun. Aziraphale tries to get Gabriel to take his concerns directly to God. Outside, Atlantis rises from the sea. Angel Michael, suspicious of Aziraphale's closeness to Crowley, starts quietly digging around and heads off with photographs to learn more. Pestilence has stepped down. Pollution steps up, joining death as the horsemen ride out together. Deep in hell, demons gather and prepare for Armageddon, expecting Warlock to arrive. He is, of course, the wrong boy. The real Antichrist Adam sits above ground, letting the voices in his head shape the world around him. They whisper and push, and he listens, summoning the Kraken from the deep, which tears through ships at sea in the name of saving whales. Hastur and Liger figure out Crowley's deception and show up at his flat furious. Crowley is ready. A bucket of holy water ends Liger instantly. Hastur hesitates. A standoff follows, then Crowley pulls him into cyberspace.
That's where Hastur is following.
Slips out and locks Hastur inside. In Tadfield, Anathema tries to hold things together as Adam summons a tornado and the town bends to his will. Aziraphale pushes through and reaches the Metatron god's voice. He argues they should not be trying to win the war. A global nuclear conflict wipes out everything. Before he can say more, Shadwell bursts in, mistakes him for a demon, and shoves him into a summoning circle. Crowley vanishes upward into heaven. A candle tips. The bookshop burns, and the Book of Prophecies goes with it. Crowley returns to find the bookshop in ashes. Stung and cut off from hell after killing Liger, he goes to drink away the loss. Adam, meanwhile, keeps growing into his dark destiny. Up in heaven, the angels prepare for battle. Aziraphale demands to return to Earth. They refuse. He walks to the great globe, presses his hand to England, and dissolves straight through it, landing back on Earth as a ghost. He finds Crowley and tells him to get to the airfield. That is where the end begins. They joke briefly about sharing a body, then he fades away to find one. An hour and 43 minutes remain. Aziraphale slides into Tracy's body. Crowley hits a traffic jam, one he unknowingly caused himself. Stuck and frustrated, Hastur appears beside him in the car, having broken free from the phone network after killing every operator inside it. He grins. He tells Crowley it is finished. Aziraphale, still inside Tracy, fills Shadwell in on the Antichrist as they reach the house. Adam, at that same moment, frightens his friends and dog away, the voices telling him he no longer needs them. Then it hits him. He sees what he has done. He launches into the sky, roars, and pulls himself back, shaking loose the dark grip on him. He lands, grabs dog, gathers his friends, and tells them the end of the world is not happening without them. Everyone arrives at Tadfield Airfield. The four horsemen get there first, seizing control. The power grid fails. Nuclear launches arm across the globe. Adam rides in. Aziraphale and Shadwell wait at the gate. Crowley tears through in his burning car, dramatic as ever. The horsemen turn. The Antichrist has arrived. The story jumps briefly ahead to Crowley in hell, on trial, sentenced. Then it steps back to the airfield. Armed, they move to stop Adam. Aziraphale raises the gun, but Tracy takes over at the last second and stops him. Adam watches the blast fade into the sky, then decides it is time. They split back into two people. The horsemen press forward, but Adam's friends stand firm, countering each one with words and wit. Anathema shuts down the nuclear launches through sheer clever thinking. Earth is safe. Then Gabriel and Beelzebub descend from their respective sides and order Adam to restart the apocalypse. He refuses. Aziraphale steps in and asks a pointed question. Are they referring to the Great Plan, or God's true and unknowable plan? That lands. Uncertain, they escalate and inform Adam's real father, Satan himself. Aziraphale, Crowley, and Adam are pulled to a barren plain. The two supernatural beings give Adam quiet advice. Use what he has to make things better. They return to Earth. Adam faces Satan. His father rages, poised to destroy everything, but Adam steps forward and rejects him completely. A father who was never there does not get a say. Satan fades. Gone. Adam reshapes things. The bookshop stands again, unburnt. Crowley's car is back, perfect. Adam gets grounded by his actual parents. Then Crowley spots death in the park. One word, ineffable. The angels take Aziraphale. The demons take Crowley. Their sentences are switched. Hellfire for the angel, holy water for the demon. Neither one breaks. Both walk out untouched, having outgrown what they once were. Heaven and hell stand down. Back on Earth, the two wait until no one is watching, then quietly swap back to their true selves. Nobody knew. Adam runs after his friends, waving to Anathema along the way. She takes the last of the prophecies and burns them. In space, Crowley is building a nebula with Aziraphale beside him. He is not creating. He is carrying out God's instructions, and he is thrilled about it. That excitement fades fast when Aziraphale informs him that God plans to wrap everything up in 6,000 years once humans arrive. The stars and galaxies are essentially decoration for them to look at. Crowley is unimpressed and wants to raise some objections. Aziraphale warns him against questioning God. Crowley shrugs it off. For now, the two simply take in the view together, Crowley draping his wing over Aziraphale as new stars flicker to life around them. Present-day London. Aziraphale is a landlord, but a terrible one. He waves off Maggie's rent entirely, happy to take a few records instead. Maggie's record shop is barely surviving. Across the way, Crowley sits with a newspaper, grumbling about the pointlessness of everything. A demon named Shax drops by and hints that something is stirring upstairs, asking him to pass along anything he hears. He dismisses her and moves on. Maggie is chatting with Nina, the coffee shop owner who knows her well, when the entire street stops. Walking toward Aziraphale's bookshop is a completely naked Gabriel, holding a box, looking utterly lost. Aziraphale is stunned, not just by the lack of clothing, but by the fact that Gabriel has no idea who he is. After some careful back and forth, Aziraphale pieces together fragments. Something terrible was about to happen to Gabriel. So he ran. He has a box he believes is important. He thinks Aziraphale can help. The box, left outside in the chaos, appears empty, except for a small insect that Aziraphale does not notice. Upstairs in heaven, Archangel Michael announces that anyone caught assisting Gabriel will face extreme punishment. Shax, meanwhile, is trying to get Crowley's attention, calling him, then just appearing beside him, to deliver the news. Gabriel is in serious trouble. Crowley is delighted. Aziraphale is not. He is stuck with an amnesiac Gabriel who is completely captivated by hot chocolate and offers nothing useful. Aziraphale decides to hide him, gives him the name Jim, and calls Crowley for backup. They meet at Nina's cafe. She asks about the naked man, which confuses Crowley immediately. He senses something is off and they head back to the bookshop, where he gets a shock finding Gabriel sitting there wrapped in a blanket. Aziraphale wants to protect him. Crowley wants nothing to do with the Archangel who once tried to have them both destroyed. They argue. Aziraphale refuses to let Crowley just drop Gabriel somewhere, and they go their separate ways for now. That evening, just as Nina is locking up, Maggie arrives with a record for her. Nina's response is flat, and Maggie stumbles over an awkward apology. Nina also mentions her partner Lindsay, who gets annoyed when she comes home late without texting. Outside, Crowley's frustration boils over. He loses control and lightning erupts, which accidentally kills the power to Nina's cafe. The doors lock. Their phones are dead. Nina and Maggie are trapped inside. In heaven, Michael and Uriel are bickering over who should take Gabriel's place. A lower-ranked angel named Muriel brings in a clue, a matchbox with a Bible verse from Job. It seems minor, but it tells them one important thing: Gabriel is somewhere on Earth. Hell, meanwhile, summons Crowley. Beelzebub lays out a deal: hand over Gabriel and receive a significant promotion. Crowley also learns that heaven is equally furious, and anyone seen helping Gabriel faces erasure. He panics for Aziraphale and races back to the bookshop. Inside the cafe, Maggie and Nina sit together trying to pass the time. Nina wonders why anyone runs a record shop anymore. Maggie explains it was her family's, and that it used to be connected to Aziraphale's bookshop, which is why he is always so patient with her. Nina drinks and quietly worries about Lindsay. Then they spot Crowley outside and call to him. He restores the power with a gesture. They stare at him, speechless. Back at the bookshop, Aziraphale is not ready to forgive just yet. He wants an apology, specifically, a song and dance. Crowley refuses. Aziraphale starts listing every time he had to swallow his pride. Cromwell's rise, the French Revolution, the Second World War, moments where Crowley warned him and he did not listen. Crowley gives in and performs a small, reluctant song and dance. Aziraphale is satisfied. They get to work. The plan is to split a single miracle between the two of them, half from each, hiding Gabriel from both heaven and hell without triggering any alarms on either side. They believe it works. It does not. Heaven's alarms go off immediately. The archangels take notice. Michael draws a swift conclusion. Aziraphale knows exactly where Gabriel is. In the past, as Demon Crowley arrives in the land of Uz with orders from hell, his mission is to destroy Job's sheep and ruin his life. Before he can begin, Aziraphale suddenly appears and happily greets him after a long time. However, their reunion quickly becomes awkward when Aziraphale realizes Crowley is there to carry out God's punishment. Crowley refuses to stop because he already has official permission from heaven itself. Confused, Aziraphale heads to heaven to check the truth. There he learns something shocking. God and Satan have made a wager about Job. Satan believes Job only worships God because his life is comfortable and blessed. To test his faith, God allows Satan to take away everything Job loves. If Job continues believing, he will later receive double the rewards, including new children. Sadly, his current children are still meant to die. Back in present-day London, Gabriel is staying inside the bookshop without memories of who he really is. Wanting to help, he reorganizes books in a ridiculous way by sorting them according to the first sentence inside each book. Aziraphale is already exhausted dealing with him, but things become stranger when Gabriel starts singing an old tune. At the same time, Shax visits Crowley and pressures him into helping Hell. She reveals that a miracle powerful enough for an archangel recently happened around the bookshop, meaning Crowley must know something suspicious. Inside the record shop nearby, Maggie is crying over Nina. Aziraphale gently asks what happened, and Maggie admits she embarrassed herself because she is deeply in love with Nina. Aziraphale wants to help her, but he has already wasted too many miracles recently. Maggie feels even worse after unloading all her romantic problems onto him. When Aziraphale asks about the song Gabriel was singing, Maggie recognizes it immediately. It is Buddy Holly's Everyday. She explains that she owns many copies because she supplies records to a pub in Edinburgh called The Resurrectionist. Oddly, every record she sends there magically changes into that same song, so the pub keeps returning them. Before Aziraphale can investigate further, he senses powerful angels arriving on Earth. He rushes back to the bookshop and finds Sarah Kale, Michael, and Uriel waiting outside. They question him about Gabriel, but the confused archangel himself walks over and introduces himself as Jim, the assistant bookseller. Luckily, Crowley and Aziraphale's miracle still protects him, so the angels fail to recognize Gabriel. They only mention that an enormous miracle recently occurred nearby. Nervous, Aziraphale lies and says he simply used a miracle to help two humans fall in love. Satisfied for now, the angels decide heaven will later send someone to confirm the miracle before leaving. Soon after, Aziraphale calls Crowley to a nearby pub to discuss the situation. Unfortunately, they get dragged into hosting a boring meeting for local shop owners. Crowley complains they could have met somewhere easier, but Aziraphale explains he has bigger problems. Since he lied about creating a love miracle between Maggie and Nina, heaven now expects results. Crowley thinks the whole thing is ridiculous, but Aziraphale insists they must somehow make Maggie and Nina fall in love for real. Crowley suggests dramatic movie-style romance involving heavy rain and accidental closeness. Meanwhile, Aziraphale prefers a peaceful romance like something from a Jane Austen novel. Crowley is amused after realizing Jane Austen was actually a clever thief he once knew. Back at the bookshop, they question Gabriel about the song again. While struggling to remember, Gabriel suddenly freezes. His eyes glow purple as forgotten memories return for a moment. He nervously repeats a strange phrase before panicking and claiming he should not remember any of it. After he leaves to rest, Crowley notices the words Gabriel spoke are exactly the same ones God once said to Job long ago. The story then returns to the past to reveal what truly happened during Job's trial. Crowley arrives at Job's house pretending to follow heaven's cruel orders. Aziraphale desperately tries stopping him until he notices something strange. The animals Crowley supposedly killed are still alive. He only disguised the goats to look like dead crows. Relieved, Aziraphale realizes Crowley secretly refuses to harm innocent creatures. When they finally meet Job's children, the older boys are loud and annoying enough to test Aziraphale's patience. Still, Crowley keeps his promise and transforms all the children into harmless lizards instead of killing them. The next day, God speaks to Job directly, questioning him about the creation of the world and many creatures. Soon after, several angels appear to reward Job with even more livestock. However, Job and his wife Sidis only care about getting their children back. The angels casually promise them replacement children instead. Before Sidis can explode with anger, Crowley arrives disguised as a man named Bildad the Shuhite. Pretending to be a midwife, he and Aziraphale convince everyone that Sidis is suddenly giving birth. Since Gabriel has barely any understanding of childbirth, the ridiculous plan somehow works. While everyone is distracted, Crowley changes the lizard back into the children. The angels almost uncover the truth when one son keeps insisting they are the original children. Michael and Gabriel become suspicious and demand an explanation. Crowley silently watches Aziraphale, waiting for his choice. After struggling with his conscience, Aziraphale finally lies and claims these children are newly born replacements. The angels accept the answer and leave satisfied. Back in the present, Crowley leaves the bookshop but runs into Nina outside. Trying to test Aziraphale's romantic ideas, he awkwardly asks how she feels about being trapped together during heavy rain. Nina misunderstands and firmly states she has absolutely no interest in Maggie romantically. She even says the day they were locked together was awful, completely crushing Crowley's plan. Moments later, Aziraphale approaches Crowley with another problem. He wants to drive Crowley's Bentley all the way to Edinburgh to investigate the mysterious record situation, while Crowley stays behind to guard Gabriel and the shop. Crowley clearly hates the idea, but as always, he cannot refuse Aziraphale. One final flashback shows why Crowley cares about him so much. After saving Job's children, Aziraphale tearfully admits he believes he deserves hell for lying. Crowley comforts him and says neither of them fully obeys their own side anyway. Aziraphale follows heaven only when he can tolerate it, while Crowley does the same with hell. Understanding how lonely that feels, the two quietly sit together and watch the horizon side by side. The resurrectionists notice Nina's coffee tastes off whenever she fights with Lindsay. Muriel walks past in a crisp white police uniform, heading straight for the Fell bookshop. She announces herself as a human officer assigned to watch Aziraphale. Crowley is already grumbling. The angel borrowed his car and drove it to Edinburgh. The two find Muriel endlessly entertaining. She insists she is a 200-year-old human named Inspector Constable, and they play along beautifully, promising to report Aziraphale's every move. She believes every word. Once she is gone, they figure it out. Heaven sent her to confirm the love miracle is real. They tell her humans fall in love slowly, then send her straight to Nina with instructions to investigate. Muriel walks up and bluntly asks Nina about her romantic life. Nina is baffled. Meanwhile, Crowley juggles everything: run the bookshop, sell nothing, keep Gabriel occupied, and quietly panic about what Aziraphale is doing to his car. Edinburgh, years back. The two arrive at a graveyard and find a statue of Gabriel so accurate it is unsettling. A young woman named Elspeth is digging up bodies to survive. Aziraphale is horrified. Crowley helps her without hesitation. The angel lectures about morality, and Elspeth's companion Morag nods along. But Elspeth and Crowley both point out the same truth: food and shelter beat righteousness every time. Back in the present, Aziraphale is having the time of his life with the Bentley. Classical music fills the car, the speed drops well below the limit, and the car is now yellow. Crowley feels every single change through some invisible connection and eventually speaks through the radio himself. Step on the pedal or the books go on sale. Aziraphale accelerates. Beelzebub is spiraling. The concept of being genuinely appreciated is foreign and unsettling to her. Gabriel, meanwhile, is obsessed with gravity and follows Crowley around with questions. A fly buzzes past and Gabriel lights up. "Flies defy gravity," he announces. Crowley barely listens. His focus is entirely on Nina and Maggie and how to push them together. Victorian Edinburgh again. Aziraphale sabotages one of Elspeth's digs. The body they retrieve has dissolved into something unrecognizable. Aziraphale's miracle at work. Elspeth storms off. Aziraphale stays and speaks with Mr. Dalrymple, who runs the establishment buying the bodies. Dalrymple explains what studying cadavers actually means for medicine and tells him about a boy with cancer he could not save. Something shifts in the angel. He finds Elspeth, apologizes, and gives his full blessing. Morag is still uncomfortable but agrees to help dig. It goes wrong fast. A booby trap, set by wealthy landowners to protect their dead, fires and kills Morag. Elspeth reacts with startling calm, loading Morag's body onto the cart and delivering her to Dalrymple, who pays far too little. She pockets some laudanum and makes her decision. Aziraphale tries words. Crowley drinks the laudanum himself. What follows is chaos. Crowley shrinks, expands, staggers, and towers. Elspeth and Aziraphale stare. Then it clicks: he is performing. The giant demon tells Elspeth that suicide is off the table and the only way forward is for Aziraphale to hand over all his money. The angel does. Elspeth walks away wealthy with a promise to live well. Aziraphale is quietly in awe. Crowley shrugs and blames the laudanum. Then hell comes calling. Crowley is yanked downward for punishment before he can say another word. Present day. Aziraphale reaches the pub and discovers it is practically a shrine to Dalrymple. The bartender recognizes Gabriel's photo. The archangel used to come here regularly, always with someone else. Aziraphale moves to the graveyard, borrows a phone from two people who look deeply unimpressed, and calls Crowley. The call goes nowhere. Aziraphale has nothing concrete. Crowley hangs up. Maggie and Nina are outside together. Maggie confronts Nina about the distance between them. Crowley summons rain. The two women duck under a cloth canopy. Nina apologizes. She was not angry at Maggie. Nina jokes she is probably not Maggie's type. Maggie says otherwise directly and clearly. Their eyes meet. Crowley celebrates from inside the shop. The canopy collapses. Rain soaks them both. Nina walks away, and the moment is gone. Crowley tells Gabriel the plan failed. Gabriel goes somewhere else entirely. A prophecy pours out of him about storms and the dead rising. When he returns to himself, he has no memory of speaking. Then Shax arrives. Hell suspects Aziraphale is sheltering Gabriel. War is being discussed. Crowley shuts the door in her face, then turns to Gabriel, who is cheerfully unaware of everything and realizes there is nothing to be done. Aziraphale picks up a hitchhiker on the road. It is Shax. She gets straight to the point. Why is Crowley putting himself at risk for Aziraphale? She sizes the angel up and decides he does not seem like Crowley's usual type, then pauses, remembering an old rumor that the two were once together. She never bought it at the time. Chasing that rumor had even gotten a demon named Furfur demoted for failing to produce proof. Aziraphale keeps insisting he is not who she thinks he is. Shax simply asks to be let out. Before she goes, she plays him perfectly. She thanks him for confirming Gabriel is in the bookshop. Aziraphale immediately asks when he said that. He didn't, but the reaction says everything. Her guess was right, and he just confirmed it without opening his mouth. The scene shifts to London, 1941. A bomb goes off inside a church where Crowley and Aziraphale are meeting with 3 Nazi spies. The spies survive long enough to hear Aziraphale thank Crowley openly, and Crowley casually offer him a lift back to town before heading to a theater. Down in hell, Furfur is drowning in paperwork. Processing the newly dead, Shax finds him and offers a deal. Help her catch an angel and demon working together, and she will get him a spot in the Temptations department. The 3 dead Nazis arrive for processing: Greta, Glozier, and Harmony. They are furious. The bomb was never meant for the church. It was supposed to hit East London. Harmony names Crowley. Furfur's attention sharpens immediately. At the Camlet Theatre, Mrs. Henderson is fuming. The whiskey Crowley smuggled in is destroyed, and the theater's magician is gone. Aziraphale, eager to repay Crowley for the church rescue, volunteers himself as a replacement. Crowley looks uncertain. Aziraphale looks thrilled. Furfur makes the 3 Nazis an offer: rot in hell forever like their commander, or return to Earth as zombies. The task is simple. Catch Aziraphale and Crowley in a compromising moment, signal Furfur through a ring, and he shows up with a camera. His miracle blocker will prevent them from escaping. The one condition: they must eat human brains to stay functional, or the hunger becomes unbearable. They agree without hesitation. Back on Earth, the zombies stop at the church ruins for a quick meal, then take up position at a pub facing the bookshop. Inside, Crowley is skeptical. Aziraphale is glowing. He trained under a celebrated magician and once performed for Nefertiti. Crowley asks for a demonstration. Across the street, Harmony attempts to lip-read through the window and reports back: banana, fish, gorilla, shoelace with a dash of nutmeg. Her companions are not impressed. Crowley watches Aziraphale fumble a basic coin trick and decides to help. They go to a magic shop. Glozier slips inside disguised with props. The owner watches nervously as Aziraphale knocks things over and cheerfully announces he is performing at the West End. Then Aziraphale spots a magic rifle and a bullet. He wants it immediately. The owner explains that the trick requires a completely trusted partner to fire the gun, plus a license. Aziraphale looks at Crowley. That settles it. He already has both. The owner sells the rifle. In the back, Glozier accidentally triggers a prop ring that squirts ink instead of signaling Furfur. The zombies give up and eat the shop owner, then head to the theater. Showtime. Aziraphale's confidence evaporates the moment he steps backstage. The zombies finally reach Furfur, who activates the miracle blocker. 30 minutes on the clock. Aziraphale tries a small miracle as a warm-up. Nothing. Crowley panics quietly and starts flipping through the instruction manual. Mrs. Henderson pushes them onto the stage. The trick: Crowley fires a bullet past Aziraphale's ear, and the angel produces a matching bullet from his mouth, claiming he caught it. Crowley then reveals he has never fired a gun in his life. The audience tenses. The two of them are visibly shaking. Furfur watches from the crowd, already imagining the photographs and the aftermath. Then Crowley fires. The bullet passes cleanly. Aziraphale opens his mouth and shows the bullet. The audience erupts. Backstage, Furfur arrives to gloat, only to find Crowley has no idea who he is. He shows them the photograph anyway, Aziraphale handing Crowley the rifle. Aziraphale nervously passes it back. Crowley is unbothered. Furfur returns to the zombies and finds a loophole in their deal. He never promised to make them human again. They decide to count it as a win. The envelope reaches Hell's Council. Inside, a show pamphlet from the Camlet Theatre. The photograph is gone. Aziraphale had swapped it during the handoff, his actual final trick, the one that required saying banana, fish, gorilla, shoelace with a dash of nutmeg. The two drink together. Aziraphale says he always knew Crowley would come through. Crowley says it is because Aziraphale asked him to trust him. The angel points out that Crowley is not nearly as dark as he pretends. Crowley agrees and adds that while heaven deals in absolutes, he prefers the space in between. They raise their glasses to shades of gray. Present day. Shax tells Beelzebub that Gabriel is in the bookshop. Beelzebub is calm. Shax pushes for an army. Beelzebub reminds her they cannot enter uninvited. Shax tells her not to worry about that. Beelzebub approves. Aziraphale arrives back in London and passes Nina, still tangled in her argument with Lindsay. He has no new leads, but Crowley believes something will turn up. The rain plan failed. The next move belongs to Aziraphale, and he already has an idea. A monthly meeting for the local shopkeepers and traders, hosted at the bookshop. The perfect setting. Aziraphale goes door to door along Wickper Street, personally inviting every shopkeeper and trader to a monthly meeting that has quietly become a full ball. Crowley follows along, entertained. Nobody wants to come. Aziraphale starts handing out rare books. A Doctor Who original manual goes to the pianist, who is a devoted fan. Crowley picks up a red fez and tries it on, perfectly content to watch Aziraphale attempt French on a cafe owner, who answers back in flawless English. The angel does not notice. Hell is having its own problems. Shax wants 10,000 demons for her attack on the bookshop. Furfur laughs and offers 100, then warns her the number drops further if she keeps pushing. She takes the 100 and holds a meeting with what she calls her legion, a scattered, underwhelming group of stragglers. A demon named Eric keeps raising objections. They are 1/75th of a legion. There is no large lift to Earth, and angels are genuinely dangerous opponents. Shax burns him mid-sentence and moves on. Back on the street, Nina watches Aziraphale and Crowley bicker about the French conversation and finds the whole thing quietly delightful. Aziraphale seizes the moment and invites her to the meeting. She agrees, but only because she has complaints about the Christmas lights on the street and wants somewhere to say them. She and Crowley exchange a look the moment Aziraphale walks away, both fully aware he has probably never hosted a meeting in his life. Nina then turns to Crowley and asks how long he and Aziraphale have been together, or whether the angel is something on the side. Crowley insists immediately that nothing is happening and that Aziraphale is simply an angel. Nina nods slowly and asks why their situations are never as simple as everyone else's. Crowley has no answer and just sits with the question. Aziraphale finds him at the French cafe and asks why he is not at the bookshop. Crowley says he does not like it there. Aziraphale does not believe him. The conversation shifts to Gabriel. Crowley wonders aloud whether the memory loss is an act. Aziraphale suggests talking to him directly. Elsewhere, Lindsay ends things with Nina over a text, calling her too self-centered. Crowley goes upstairs to Gabriel and does not hold back. He is angry, furious that Gabriel once tried to have Aziraphale destroyed, the one person Crowley actually cares about. Gabriel listens, sad and quiet, and offers to do whatever Crowley wants. Crowley tells him to jump out the window. Gabriel walks toward it without hesitation. Crowley stops him just in time, shaken. He tries a different approach and asks Gabriel what he actually remembers. Gabriel describes it as living inside an empty house. He cannot find the furniture, but he senses it was there. Then something surfaces. He remembers taking his own memories out and placing them inside a matchbox. That matchbox is in heaven. Muriel is reporting to Michael and Uriel, who are growing impatient. She could not gather information because she gave the duo privacy. The archangels nearly piece together that Aziraphale has no book-selling assistant and begin asking questions about someone called Jim. Upstairs, Crowley brings Gabriel a hot chocolate. Gabriel tells him he is kind. Crowley tells him to keep that to himself. No one would believe it anyway. Downstairs, the bookshop transforms. Aziraphale has turned it into a ballroom. He sends Crowley out to confirm Nina and Maggie are coming, and Crowley glances back at the angel for a moment with something new in his expression. Mrs. Sandwich arrives in a casual outfit that becomes a full gown the instant she steps through the door. Everyone inside is dressed for a formal ball and speaking like characters from a Jane Austen novel. Nina is heartbroken and wants to leave. Crowley senses something wrong outside and tells her firmly to go into the bookshop. It is the only safe place right now. Inside, Nina notices she cannot hold on to her sadness properly. The trance is thick, but no one seems bothered by it. Somewhere nearby, Mrs. Sandwich keeps introducing herself as a seamstress, then describes her actual work in enough detail that the truth becomes obvious. Maggie arrives at the bookshop with a crowd of masked figures trailing behind her. Crowley intercepts them and pulls off the masks. Demons. Every one of them after Gabriel. He scolds them for breaking protocol and rushes inside, where everyone is dancing and socializing as if nothing is wrong. Maggie asks Nina to dance. They move together, and somewhere in the middle of it, both become quietly aware that the trance is real and that none of this is normal. Nina, frustrated, lets it slip that Lindsay broke up with her. Probably because she is difficult. Maggie says she does not mind difficult. They look at each other. Gabriel is having a wonderful time serving drinks in a bedazzled blue suit. Crowley tries to warn Aziraphale about the demons outside, but the angel pulls him into a dance. Crowley keeps talking about the danger. Then a rock comes through the window. Written on it, "Surrender the Angle." Aziraphale faces Shax from the doorway. She is direct. He is an outcast. She will keep harming humans until Gabriel is handed over. Crowley invents a rule on the spot. The laws of battle require time to evacuate civilians first. Gabriel overhears, understands the situation is about him, and volunteers to go outside. He steps out. No one recognizes him. Shax shouts past him, demanding that he go inside and tell them to hand over Gabriel. He goes back in, completely confused. Crowley realizes the miracle wrapped around Gabriel has made him invisible to them, his own surrender ruined. They line up the guests and Crowley leads them out and away from the demons. Maggie and Nina stay behind to help. Aziraphale is calm about it and tells them Crowley enjoys rescuing him. Nina raises an eyebrow and asks why he never makes his own rescue plans. Once the humans are clear, Crowley spots Muriel in the crowd. He walks straight up and tells her to arrest him and take him to heaven. She is stunned that he saw through her disguise and wonders if it is a trick. He points out that she has, in fact, already arrested him. She nods and takes him to heaven. The demons are inside the bookshop. Maggie accidentally invited them in, and now everyone is scrambling. Fire extinguishers get hurled, encyclopedias fly. Aziraphale opens a direct channel to heaven and the light burns through the demons cleanly. Nina, catching her breath in the middle of all this, learns that the entire ball was set up to push her and Maggie together. She takes that in quietly. In heaven, Muriel figures out that Crowley tricked her. He has already changed into angel-appropriate clothing to avoid attention and tells her that since she is in trouble regardless, she might as well pull Gabriel's file. She does not have clearance. He does, a remnant of his original rank, back when he helped build the universe. They watch the recording together. It shows a meeting where Heaven's leadership is planning a second Armageddon. Gabriel refuses. Aziraphale finds Crowley mid-viewing but decides he might as well see the trial through. The trial is brief and clinical. The other angels want Gabriel cast down permanently. Metatron intervenes. Too many angels being cast down creates the appearance of a structural problem. The decision, demotion, memory wipe, and the suits go. Gabriel accepts this without argument, says he will return once he has cleared his desk and removed his suit. The CCTV footage fills in the rest. Gabriel removes his suit, places something into a matchstick, puts that matchstick inside a box, then drops everything when he bends down to write something on the bottom. He leaves heaven with nothing on and no memories. The archangels wait in the trial room. Michael eventually realizes Gabriel does not have a desk. Aziraphale goes to erase his memory and finds it already gone. Back at the bookshop, Aziraphale burns through the remaining demons using his halo, leaving only Shax standing. Alarms go off in heaven. Aziraphale declares this an act of war. Crowley, exasperated, heads back to Earth. The archangels and Muriel follow. At the same moment, Beelzebub, Furfur, and Dagon arrive ready for a full confrontation. Crowley steps in and asks about the box Gabriel arrived with. They examine it. On the bottom, in Gabriel's handwriting, he is in the fly. Everyone looks around. There is one fly in the room. It has been there since Gabriel first walked through the door. It must have fallen from the matchstick into the box at some point. Crowley talks the room into handing it over, explaining that the half-miracle disguising Gabriel was so effective because when a demon and an angel work together, the result can match an archangel's power. Gabriel, still baffled, accepts the fly. It enters his eye. Every memory returns at once. He tells them everything. Armageddon failed. Heaven quietly planned a second attempt. Gabriel refused and they scheduled his trial. Despite having no real reason to keep meeting, he and Beelzebub kept finding each other, pretending to drink beer, sitting together in silence while music played. She introduced him to Buddy Holly. He found the jukebox at the pub and set it to play that one song on a permanent loop. She gives him back the fly, a container larger on the inside than it appears, and he is visibly moved, having never been given anything before. The room goes still when Gabriel clarifies that he came to Earth to find Beelzebub, not Aziraphale. The two reach for each other's hands. Maggie finds it beautiful. Michael immediately considers turning the humans into salt. Crowley gets them outside fast. Nina steps up and takes in the growing line outside the coffee shop. Maggie offers to help. They go. Metatron drifts in, orders a coffee, and notices the shop's name, "Give me coffee or give me death." He asks if anyone has ever chosen death. When Nina says no, he calls it predictable and moves on. Crowley walks back toward the bookshop, sees the light and noise inside, and smiles at Aziraphale trying to keep order. Then the politics arrive. Hell wants to punish Gabriel and Beelzebub as traitors. Heaven wants to send them down. Crowley suggests Alpha Centauri. The two agree immediately. Shax hesitates until Beelzebub hands her the title of Duke of Hell. They leave together. Michael turns to Aziraphale and raises the matter of extreme sanctions. Metatron walks in and shuts her down. She has no authority here. He sends the angels back to heaven, notices Muriel trying to disappear into a corner, and asks Aziraphale for a walk. Aziraphale glances at Crowley. Crowley waves him out. Metatron pauses at the door and looks at Crowley for a long moment before leaving. Crowley wants breakfast. The Ritz, just the two of them. Muriel assumes she is invited. She is not. He hands her a book and sends her away, then tidies the shop and waits, checking his watch. Maggie and Nina come back first. They sit Crowley down and say it plainly. Matchmaking with good intentions still causes damage. Nina is not ready. She will not use Maggie as a rebound. She hopes Maggie will wait. Then they point the mirror at Crowley. He is like Nina, all locked doors. Aziraphale is like Maggie, patient and open. They tell him the two of them need to actually talk. Aziraphale comes back glowing. Before Crowley can say what he has been building toward, Aziraphale stops him. Metatron has offered him the position of Supreme Archangel. Crowley can have his angel status restored. Crowley is stunned that Aziraphale did not immediately refuse, given that heaven tried to end everything. Aziraphale believes he can change things from the inside. Crowley drops the argument and decides to say what he came to say before the chance disappears entirely. It comes out quietly and awkwardly. They have always had each other, never needed anyone else. Heaven and hell are both broken, and he wants to leave with Aziraphale the way Gabriel and Beelzebub just did. Aziraphale asks him to come to heaven instead. Crowley points out that Aziraphale cannot even leave his bookshop. Aziraphale says nothing lasts forever. Crowley agrees sadly. Aziraphale says they can be together up there, that he needs Crowley. Crowley looks around and says quietly that there are no nightingales singing. Then he walks forward and kisses Aziraphale. Aziraphale stands very still. He looks like he might speak. Then he says he forgives Crowley. Crowley's expression closes. He turns and walks away. Aziraphale stands alone, fingers touching his lips. Metatron returns and does not look surprised. Aziraphale asks about the bookshop. Muriel will take care of it, Metatron says. They walk to the elevator. Metatron mentions the second coming as a next step. Aziraphale stops walking. He turns and looks at Crowley one last time, then steps inside. The doors close. Crowley watches. He looks at Maggie and Nina. Then he gets in the car and drives. We see Aziraphale alone. Crowley steals his sword and wants answers. He gets hurt and Aziraphale patches him up. Surprised by the kindness, Crowley lets him go. Now Crowley sleeps in an alley on Wickber Street. His days go by in a blur of drinking and watching over the bookstore. A kingpin named Brian tricks him into losing his car in a Monopoly game. Brian offers the Bentley back if Crowley can win a card game called Find the Lady. He loses and gets thrown out. Up in heaven, Aziraphale has reshaped the second coming. Instead of war, it becomes a peaceful new beginning on earth, starting with Jesus speaking gently to the United Nations. Jesus is back, but all he wants is someone familiar. With everyone he knew gone, he asks for Crowley. It turns out Crowley once showed him the world before he was crucified. Someone kills Metatron and takes the Book of Life. Alarms blare. In the confusion, Jesus slips away to Earth. Michael assigns Muriel to find the book, while Aziraphale goes after Jesus. On Earth, a stranger gives Jesus food and brings him to Crowley. Jesus is lost and unsure of his purpose. A drunk Crowley rambles about Find the Lady. Jesus takes the words at face value and sets off to find this lady. Around the same time, Dagon orders Crowley to track Jesus down. Hell wants to use him against heaven. Crowley says no, quits being a demon, and goes back to sleep. Aziraphale has no idea where to look. Muriel suggests turning to Crowley for help and accidentally lets it slip that Crowley is struggling. Aziraphale grows worried. He arrives on Wickber Street and barely recognizes it. Mrs. Sandwich, the one original business owner still standing, scolds him for walking away from both the street and Crowley. Aziraphale finds Crowley and tries to be light and easy, as if nothing happened. Crowley is not having it. He is distant and lets his pain show without saying much. Crowley refuses the apology, so Aziraphale drops it and convinces him to help find Jesus instead. Then comes the shock. The Bentley is gone. A flashback fills in the gap. Brian had threatened to burn down the bookstore if Crowley refused to bet the car. Back in the present, Aziraphale challenges Brian to a crossword competition and wins the Bentley back. Brian ends up in the hospital. Not far away, Jesus makes friends with a street magician named Harry the Fish and asks to be taught Find the Lady. Not far away, Jesus makes friends with a street magician named Harry the Fish and asks to be taught Find the Lady. As the two search for Jesus, Aziraphale insists he took Metatron's offer to change things and protect everyone, including Crowley and himself. In heaven, Sandalphon claims he has answers. He is killed before he can share them. Concerned for Aziraphale's safety, Crowley goes with him to heaven. Uriel behaves strangely, going through Aziraphale's things and clashing with Michael over Muriel's investigation. With nowhere else to turn, Aziraphale and Muriel pose as high-ranking demons and press Dagon for information. They learn there is a secret source who tipped hell off about the missing book and the two murdered archangels. Meanwhile, Harry tells Jesus that card games are about manipulation. Jesus sees it differently. To him, it is about comfort, and finding the lady means finding love. Crowley takes Aziraphale out to eat. They argue again about his choice, and Aziraphale says it was Crowley who taught him that one person can make a difference. The second coming is his way of proving it. Somewhere in the conversation, they circle back to Jesus, and Crowley finally places him as the man from the alley. Just then, Brian's daughter Misty shows up threatening to torch the bookstore in revenge. Muriel arrives too, and realizes Michael set her on the investigation precisely because she is not sharp enough to figure anything out. A demon named Eric also turns up, recognizes Aziraphale, and declares his presence an act of war. Aziraphale quietly undoes Brian's health scare and sends Misty to be with her father. Michael murders Uriel, the last capable archangel, ranting that the second coming must happen the right way. She travels to the center of the universe and uses the eternal flame to burn the Book of Life page by page. With each page gone, reality unravels. Aziraphale and Crowley race to stop her. On the way, they cross paths with Harry and Jesus. They are relieved to see Jesus has found his footing. He is gathering people around him and bringing them comfort. The Bentley gets them to the center. They stop Michael, but the book has already broken her mind. She rants about being overlooked despite only wanting to fix things. In a rage, she destroys what remains of it. Crowley grabs the page for the bookstore and holds onto Aziraphale. Everything is gone. Only the bookstore exists, and the two of them with it. Aziraphale begs forgiveness. Crowley gives it. Then Satan appears. Crowley is furious. Nothing adds up. Together, they trick God into showing herself. They demand explanations. God talks about stories and endings. Satan is still around because she wanted a tidy final confrontation to close out the universe's tale. They realize free will was never truly free. Their love story was something she nudged along because it made her smile. Still, Aziraphale says out loud that he loves Crowley, and that Crowley was the finest angel there ever was. God decides it is time to end things. When Crowley pushes back, she gives him the chance to write the final page. Crowley wants a real universe. One where free will mean something, where no angels or demons, no God or Satan, no grand plan, no interference exists. Aziraphale agrees completely. They take each other's hands. God, feeling generous, gives them what they asked for, and everything fades away with a smile. In the new universe, every supernatural being is now human. Aziraphale and Derek run a bookstore together. One day, Professor Anthony Crowley walks in looking for a book on astrophysics. Asa and Crowley meet for what feels like the first time and end up going on a date. At the restaurant, Michael and Dagon work behind the bar. Familiar faces fill the room, including Uriel, Muriel, Eric, and Jesus. A painting of Terry Pratchett hangs on the wall. 20 years pass. Asa and Crowley are married and lying under the stars when a nightingale begins to sing. It has always been the sound of their love. But that's where this video ends. Let me know what you think about this series, and as always, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you all in the next video.